Habari Africa, mimi ni King. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe. Asante kwa kutanzama King Said So. Guys, I've been getting a lot of requests from my fans to break down the Lukhona Mnguni's interview at Dr. Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh's podcast. And I was like, yeah, but these people, bamthandu Lukhona, ne? So this is exactly what I want to do in this video. Lukhona has touched on some things that are serious. One thing that touched my nerve and that it hit me very much on my stomach was that the ANC has found a new alliance partner. That is why the ANC does not care what their alliance partners are saying, because they are not bringing the numbers in. The ANC's new alliance partner is the Democratic Alliance. And when Lukhona said that, I was like, yo, this is true, man. No wonder this type of attitude. The ANC is keeping the DA somewhat happy and as an alliance partner, because the DA can do more for the ANC than the Communist Party, the Hausa, to whatever you call the other smaller alliance partners can do for the ANC. And for me, it was like amazing to hear what he said. And also when he touched about Fikile Mbalula, only fixated on what the Democratic Alliance is doing. It looks like he's now the Secretary General that responds to DA controversies. You know what I'm saying? So I'm enjoying this interview. I had to watch the whole interview for you guys because you asked for the breakdown, and here we go. Let's talk about Lukhona Mnguni, Dr. Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh, and much more.
Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, Kagiso Hlongwane Sinjiva Sono, and we're back at it again with another one. And this time around, we're breaking down the interview of Lukhona Mnguni, one of the journalists that is very well known in South Africa, and he does a good job, even though sometimes I question some of his opinions. But anyway, that is exactly what it is. It's an opinion, sometimes informed, sometimes emotional, but everyone has got an opinion. So we are here to break down some of his thoughts that he gave to the interview when he was by the SMW ex Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh podcast. Very good podcast. You guys know how highly I rate Dr. Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh. Please continue to support him. I think he wants to reach something like 200,000 subscribers. Let's continue to support Africans. We don't pay a cent to subscribe to a channel. You don't pay anything. Go there. Those people are dropping gems. I don't know. Sizwe and his team, bazoivala SABC ne newsroom ne like bazozvala. The type of interviews that are dropping on that channel is too much now. It's too much. I told Sizwe, I said, Sizwe, give us time to breathe. You can't back to back. My interview are hot. I caught. He said, King, no time to breathe, no space. So what can we say? So now I want to break down what Lukhona said when he spoke about the ANC and the DA actually don't have some terms of reference to this coalition that they have. The government of national unity, for me, is operating on autopilot.
It's a defining feature for me, which is this collaboration between the ANC and the DA.
Well, I think, the coalition has been good at PR. So its public relations exercise has been excellent in terms of propping itself up as the most viable and sensible coalition that could have been hoped for by South Africans. Unfortunately, though, at a level of really turning itself into a real coalition, there's been a great deal of resistance. You will know that they just recently formed what they call a clearinghouse, which is chaired by the deputy president and involves a number of political party leaders. But the terms of reference of that clearinghouse are still not very clear in terms of what it is there for.
I mean, we're 3 months into this and we still don't have terms.
No proper terms of reference for the clearinghouse, still touch and go. There's no draft coalition agreement.
Absolutely.
Between these parties, and everybody seems to have forgotten. And I think what was actually quite bizarre for me was when, the president was opening parliament and gave his address on the 18th of July, and there had been a cabinet lekhutla. But in his own opening address, the president said, no, these parties still need to go for a strategic, session and so on. And by the way, that strategy session of the parties themselves has not taken place. What has been put together is a technical team that has been trying to sift through the manifestos of the various parties to then try and come up with this midterm development plan that will then bind these parties together. But remember, these parties must be bound together politically and policy-wise. And it's the party leaders that must come in front of society and sign a coalition agreement that talks to what are their priorities for South Africa. Again, true to form of, politicians who are buying time, they then pegged the national dialogue as another landmark that must landmark event that must happen as part of trying to inform them what society is saying, what society wants, and all of that. But really, society has been telling them. Why were they knocking at our doorsteps, doing door to door? Unless they are hard to listen. Society has been telling these politicians what it expects. The Constitution does tell these politicians what the South African democratic break.
Many people who say the ANC has lost the elections but won the negotiations refer to this because they managed to continue governing the government without actually having a draft coalition agreement between the coalition partners. The only thing that was signed that we know is the letter of intent, but there's nothing on paper that that brings us to an understanding as to which direction this coalition government is going to take. Now, Lukhona, why am I saying Lukhona? Lukhona, Mr. Mnguni, let me call him Mr. Mnguni. Mr. Mnguni has broken it down, but I want to bring a different angle to what he says because we are looking at a future coalition partnership between these parties and 2026 and 2029. Now, I'm saying the DA, the Democratic Alliance, will learn from this. They will not repeat this mistake again of going into power or into a coalition with the ANC without the proper terms of reference and a solid agreement, not a haphazard letter of intent that was signed, but a proper agreement as to what needs to happen in terms of the direction of where the government will be taking. They will never make this mistake again. They made this mistake once. I don't think they will repeat it because the DA can't go to its voters and say, listen, we are really winning in this coalition. They can't. They are trying to steal the spotlight by continuously being on mainstream media and trying to make us think that they are doing a good job. But please, don't be fooled. There's nothing special out of the ordinary that the Democratic Alliance is doing that the ANC did not do in the past. You can name me anything that you talk about. The program of digitalizing the Home Affairs started in the 6th administration. The 7th administration is just continuing with whatever they're doing. The Department of Sports and the Department of Education have always worked together. It's nothing new because Gayton and Uloya is doing it. What's her name again? The lady, the Minister of Basic Education, Kwahube. And there's nothing new that the Minister of Public Works is doing. Public Works have always fought to retrieve their hijacked buildings, fighting construction mafia. There's nothing new that the DA is doing. Nothing, absolutely. And then kunenye imbungulo of agriculture angazi wenzani loyo. There's lapho akwenza next nothing. So there's nothing new that the DA is doing, ladies and gentlemen. Let's stop highlighting that they are doing any exceptional work. Nothing new. But I'm saying the Democratic Alliance is going to learn from this. And I'm telling you, going forward, they're going to hold the ANC on the balls. Should there be another coalition talks or necessary coalitions that are needed after 2026 or 2029. But anyway, I'm sure you guys have seen the video that I played before this that dropped at 9 o'clock that I said Julius Sello Malema would be president. If you haven't, go and watch that video. Another thing that Mr. Mnguni has said is that the business elites, they have been benefiting immensely from the flops of the ANC. What does he mean by that?
Point. So in 2018, anyway, this academic goes to the businessman.
Yeah.
And the businessman says, you know what? This is 2018.
Yeah.
We're not worried about that. We're now worried about an ANC-DA coalition. This is 2018.
Wow.
At that 2018 is at the height of Ramaphoria.
Yeah.
And I got even more agitated that we need to think about South Africa beyond the ANC, because what Ramaphoria was at that time was simply a haze that makes people forget, but nothing had changed about the ANC. And I had said this when we left Nasrec in 2017, that there's nothing in the configuration of the ANC that has changed, that this party would behave differently in government.
Yeah.
That response, when I received it, piqued my interest in terms of, oh, this is interesting. I'm here thinking about, what is life like after the ANC? And then as the negotiations were happening post the 29 May election this year, I went back to that memory 6 years ago to say that there has been a lot of work that the elites have been doing, particularly business in this country. So whilst a lot of business executives will tell you about the dangers of ANC's mismanagement and all of that. The truth is that a number of private companies and businesses have actually benefited from the failures of the ANC, the broken health, the broken schooling system, the broken policing and safety issues. You look at private security. Private security has more guns in their hands than the South African police service. You look at mushrooming private schools that have just popped and even listed in the JSE. That's how much demand there is.
Energy.
You look at the energy sector. You look at the health space. And how much private healthcare has become profitable and viable and so on because of the failures in much of public healthcare. Now, so don't let anybody make you believe that there has not been somebody profiting. So whilst the ordinary citizens and law-abiding citizens like ourselves, who are not necessarily tycoons, really just earn an honest living, have been feeling the pinch and have been taking a lot of stick from the mismanagement of the state by the ANC. The elites have been profiting.
I actually agree with Mr. Mnguni. This coalition talks and the vision of the coalition between the ANC, the grand coalition between the ANC and the DA was planned a long time ago. I do believe that even in 2018 already the talks have started, because the weakening of the ANC was prophesied or forecast before it even happened. The ANC was not going to remain and enjoy power forever. That is quite obvious. So the business elites, they really planned this issue of saying, what does South Africa look beyond the ANC? Nobody ever thought about this, especially earlier on. People did not apply themselves, but the business elite was a well-oiled machine that was funding the ANC and making sure that the ANC remained mediocre because they benefit from it. The security sector. It is crazy to see other security companies driving cars and holding weapons that the police don't have. And their response time is It's crazy. Those securities don't fear to die. Our police, they ask you first, you say how many people are shooting, how many people, they don't come. We see so many videos in Cape Town where on camera, we see so many videos in KwaZulu-Natal, people carrying weapons, and police officers are just saying, I'm not going to die for South Africa. And that's exactly what is happening. So they're benefiting from the health sector. A weak ANC is a weak government that performs in the health sector. So the private sector is blooming because of medical aid and everything. Those elite businesses, they want to see themselves benefiting there. In the security sector, also in the educational sector, where we are trying to infiltrate and bring quality education for African children in the form of Paseta, they are also benefiting there. They're also benefiting, believe it or not, in this Zama issue. Because if you can operate a mine without having a mine rights and everything, without having a formal business, but you can still buy the ingredients, you can still buy the minerals, from these poor miners who go underground for months on end just to bring a kilo or 5 kilograms of gold. You can imagine that many white elites will still buy there, because where else are these Zamazamas selling their gold? To who? That's the big question. So the business elites invest a lot of money in making sure that also the ANC, like I said, they invest a lot of money in politics. And people don't know, man. That's why in politics, I was telling the brother of mine from Lesotho when we were speaking, I said, politics needs funding. A political party is not like opening a social society meeting or whatever, stock fair. A political party needs serious funding, and you will not be able to compete with the big boys. Ask Azapo, ask the ATM, ask all these small parties how it feels not having finance for campaigning and all of those things. But anyway, we know that the business industry is also, the business elites are also interested into who's going to be the next president after the ANC. So they invest a lot. We have had mainstream media pushing, no, the South African rand will fall, Gogozilla saying this. All of those things is just them applying pressure on us so that we can fear our country being Zimbabwe. I wonder why you are fearing that. But anyway, let's hear what Mr. Mnguni said about Fikile Mbalula and how Fikile Mbalula has become this SG that is constantly trying to address what the DA said. Helen Zille,
the point really is that Helen then, because she's outside of the GNU, she can be a wedge driver, and she knows that, and that's why now when she talks, she owns it much more. She says, I am the Fikile Mbalula of the ANC in the DA. So basically she's saying, my counterpart in the ANC is Mbalula. And she's found the right buttons to press to irritate him, to make him angry, to make him look sloppy in terms of how he handles the matters, to actually make him lose political gravitas in terms of how he is handling the aftermath of the negotiation of the GNU. Because at some point during the negotiations, Fikile was holding the line. He was, leading that political, negotiation team and the technical team that was helping the ANC's, political negotiation team. But afterwards, he has completely lost the plot. He's not able to find a way to elevate the ANC without concerning himself with what Helen Zille says and so on. He has an edge to always respond, and he therefore is distracted. And that's what Helen is looking for, a distracted Fikile Mbalula who spends even just 5% of his time on the DA and not investing it in the ANC. What it does in the public mind and in the public eye is that it paints Mbalula as a bad leader. And therefore, come 2027, when Mbalula wants to stand for whatever position in the presidency, if he may so wish, as some people have been saying, maybe he must stand for president, there will be great resistance, because it will be, but you've not been able to handle the DA. You've been shown as a weaker leader by the DA, whereas during the negotiations, that letter that was, leaked, written by Cyril Ramaphosa, President Ramaphosa, responding to John Steenhuisen, was deemed to be bold, to be decisive, to be telling them where to get off, and to be laying.
Yeah, man, abo Colin Malachi, abo Gwede Mantashe, Fikile Mbalula, and many other politicians in the ANC, it's like they are failing to sit down and think, man. To think how to frustrate the enemy, to think how to outmaneuver the enemy. Every time Helen Zille says something, Fikile Mbalula jumps. Every single time. Ever since the negotiations of this coalition, Helen Zille has been running the show. Ukoko Zille has been running the show. And Fikile Mbalula continuously only responds to this lady. And the response, they are insultive in a way. It's like there's no superior logic that he would come with and then discipline Helen Zille. And after that, he's always reactive. Nothing proactive comes from the ANC. That's why we have continuously maintained that this Secretary General is the weakest of all time. This Gogo is imagine if he had to run for president, how mainstream media will control his narrative, how the business elites will intimidate him. If he's been intimidated by Gogo Zille, for me, I'm just disappointed, man. Just disappointed. I know, seriously, but let me not be personal with Fikile, but they are constantly worried about what the DA is doing. The ANC now being the government, the ruling party in this government, is living under the shadow of the DA. Just because of Fikile Mbalula can't handle Ukoko Zille. Does not want to handle Ukoko Zille. It's also a possibility. I don't know. But Lukhona said something that scared me. In this whole interview, he said, listen, the ANC is in an alliance with a new alliance with the Democratic Alliance. And I was like,
Thing to be seen. One thing that is clear, though, is that the ANC, and as I've said, of these ructions between the ANC and the SACP, is that the ANC has found a new tripartite alliance. And that tripartite alliance includes the DA. So by extension, the DA has become a quasi-faction of the ANC. Because now the ANC suddenly cares what the DA has to say about the ANC.
Yeah.
And they care little what the SACP has to say about the ANC. Because in actual fact, the real tripartite alliance partners are those who can put the ANC in power. And the DA can do that.
So what is the tripartite alliance? The ANC,
the DA,
big business, and the DA?
It sounds good.
That's the real tripartite.
That's the real tripartite.
I would say there's actually a quadripartite alliance because I think big media is the fourth part.
Well, big business owns big media.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, it's a wholly owned.
It made me very sad when Mr. Mnguni said that the ANC has found a new alliance partner. And it made all the sense looking at the treatment that they are treating their alliance partners with. I mean, the ANC does not take any of their alliance partners serious. None of them. And it's mathematically, you can see why. Because with the ANC and how SATU, the Communist Party, all the alliances, what did it help the ANC when they could still lose an election while still having those alliance partners? You see? So now the ANC might be looking at it to say, listen, the DA is a better alliance partner with us, strategically so, because they always say strategical movement that they are making, because they are a 22% party. And the DA knows that they will never reach anything like 25 or 30%. There isn't enough voters that will vote for the DA to make them reach that. They have hit their ceiling. There's no DA that will go past 22% or 25% for that matter. So it's sad, Buffett, to see how the Communist Party is crying on foul treatment from the ANC to say, Labantu Laba, they go out there as if they have consulted us and everything. It's heartbreaking. Yo, hi, Buffett. I mean, what can the Communist Party do? We'll see in 2026 when they go for and stand for the local elections on their own. It might prove as the death of the Communist Party, but they can always run to the EFF or somewhere else if this relationship with them and the ANC does not get better. Another thing that Mr. Mnguni has pointed out is this issue of people always saying, what if Jacob Zuma die? What if Jacob Zuma die?
Cook something very interesting. So the point really here is that, and people are refusing to see what is happening in MK because they are investing too much of their own biases and preconceived ideas. One of the preconceived ideas that I've been asked by people when I say these things, they say, but what if Zuma drops dead tomorrow? But that's not a reality we have. What if he doesn't drop dead tomorrow? How do you then understand MK Party? And what if he makes it to 2029 alive? Then what is your strategy? Your strategy can't hinge on something that is not guaranteed. This idea that people must do nothing about MK if they actually don't believe MK is the right party for South Africa, but they hope that Zuma is gonna die soon, and once he dies, MK is gonna, just disintegrate. Or who said Zuma is dying soon? We don't know that. So let's talk about what we see. And the trends that are building up within the realm of reality. And I think that institutionalization is an important one. Secondly, this demystification of the MK as a tribal party or a Zulu party and so on. I think there's something that is being done there. Of course, its high autocratic structure is similar to that which the EFF actually adopted. And I do think that in new formations, there's a place for that, but it has a runway. And it will be interesting if MK Party gives itself realistic timelines. How can you rely on this highly super centralized sense of governing the party and then opening it up and making it more democratic and so on? And how long does it take them to do those, creation of structures and so on? So MK, for me, in the current trajectory and in the current flat-footedness of progressive political parties.
So my issue with this, what if Jacob Zuma die, and analysts trying to get a feeling on how the MK political party will do beyond Jacob Zuma. My problem with that is it sometimes sounds like it's a wishful thing. Like people are literally wishing death for Jacob Zuma. Like our people have been colonized so much, have been brainwashed so much by mainstream media to make them think that Jacob Zuma is this horrible monster that deserves even death. That you never hear anyone speaking about Helen Zille like this. You'll never hear anyone speaking about our colonizers like this. Even de Klerk, there were some people that were trying to force us to, celebrate the death of, honor the life of de Klerk when he passed away. Like, that's how you guys are doing it. For me, it feels like, what type of evilness is this of killing someone as a hamba? A healthy 82-year-old man like Jacob Zuma, you're already wishing death upon him. Nobody says anything about Gogozilla. Nobody says, hey man, Gogozilla, Ukatele, what if she passes away before the elections in 2029? Nobody. So for me, that call, I think African people must stop it. In fact, people don't even go as far as saying that about Julius Malema. It shows you just how much hate people have for Jacob Zuma. But hey, all publicity is good publicity for the man. The type of hate that people have for Jacob Zuma is that Chidima hate. And it makes someone go from glory to glory if you didn't notice. So for me, I want to say, Africans, let's stop this. What if Jacob Zuma dies? Everybody's got their time. What's Ganjan would do? Who was offered before Jacob Zuma? You might be the one who goes. When you think in 2029 you'll be voting, maybe me and you will not be here. Who knows? Nobody knows their final time. So let's stop this thing of wishing the old man, our former president, as such a great personality like Jacob Zuma, because all this what if Jacob Zuma died people who are attacking Jacob Zuma now, including mainstream media, all of them will have nothing but great things to say when Jacob Zuma died. Nas. When they go back and look at his 9 wasted years, they will be flipping it and say, but hey, there's so much good. Yes, it was a 9 wasted years, but there's so much good that Jacob Zuma did. And then they point all of the great things that Jacob Zuma did. They will be calling him a political master, the way he opened the MK party and everything. They will be praising him. This what if Jacob Zuma died people. So also, Mr. Mnguni covers this issue of the momentum of the MK political party leading to the 2026 local elections.
No, it's going to disintegrate at some point. With its current momentum that it's building, its ability to attract and institutionalize and build, you may not like what it builds. Many people didn't like what Trump was building, his president-elect today. So the fact that you don't like something that people are building does not mean they're not going to successfully build it.
Absolutely.
Simply because you don't like it. The question is, what are you building as a counter, prevailing force to that? And I believe that the ANC is doing nothing about MK party. Zuma did a lot about ANC breakaways. He did a lot about COPE. He did a lot about the EFF. Try infiltrate, to try dismantle, to try and create discord and so. Yeah. Nobody seems to be doing anything about MK party politically.
If anything, MK is doing things to the ANC.
No. Even the EFF, they don't know who's here and who's in MK. It's created a double parking. Some are here, but they are not working for you, but they are working on your colors and so on. So the point is that MK is an interesting phenomenon. I call it a fascinating phenomenon. A friend of mine who disagrees with this. It's a fascinating phenomenon because I am curious of the political tools they are using to try and get to the psyche of the South African voter. And I've never seen such political propaganda in a South African election, probably since 1994.
Now, Lukhona, Mnguni is one of those people that don't like Jacob Zuma. He doesn't. He says Jacob Zuma was not supposed to be a president. If you watch this whole interview, he is a person who dislikes Jacob Zuma. But even he can see that the MK political party is carrying momentum. Yes, there are some people that are getting out of the MK political party. In fact, each and every week there's a story about the MK political parties. Just now, the focus is on EFF because of the conference that is happening, I think the second week of December. But the MK political party is also getting those drama issues happening in their party. But, even the people that hate Jacob Zuma must, when they sit down, they must see that there is no way the MK political party is going to, do any worse than 15% in 2026. You can see the MK political party growing beyond the Democratic Alliance. If you are an honest person, you can honestly see it happening. The MK political party is just going to grow, and these other political parties simply don't have the answer. And that's the honest truth. It's not only us that is saying it. It's someone that hates the MK political party or hates Jacob Zuma for that matter that is saying it. The ANC and the EFF are seeming as they are reactive to what the MK political party is doing. They have got no answers. They've got no answers. Every time we talk about the EFF is when we link it to the MK political party. Every time we talk about the ANC is when we link it to the MK political party. The MK political party remains the center of attention of politics in South Africa. And Jacob Zuma is the man that is making that happen. Whether you believe that, you want to hear that, or you don't want to hear that, that is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. So what is the other parties doing? What are they going to do? Sometimes I wish I can sit in those CCT meetings or whatever, NEC meetings, whenever these people are sitting, and just listen to what are they saying. What is the strategy to attack this thing? Because for some of us, maybe Yamazi is like a bit of what the solutions look easy for me. If I was in the EFF, I would be making the proper noise that the DA, the ANC, and the MK is not ready for. The difficult party is the ANC. It's going to be difficult for the ANC to recover because of their division. But the EFF is not actually divided. Yes, there are still people that must go and all of that. But the EFF is not divided as a political party. They can still pull into one direction. So I wish those political parties can just wake up at one point. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this breakdown. Actually, I've got 2 more clips to break down, but let me not go and watch the full interview there by Sizwe Mpofu Welsh. And before I do a long breaking down the whole video, I think that would be unfair in terms of his material that he's using for his channel. But let me stop here with how far I've came, and thank you guys for everyone that is donating to the Pan-African School of Economics, Technology and Agriculture. We really appreciate your help. The construction has started on the site. For many of you who don't know, the Pan-African School of Economics, Technology and Agriculture is an idea that was born right here on YouTube on Kingset. So where we came together and say we need to infiltrate the educational system for the next generation. We said we want to answer the big question when the next generation asks us, what did you do in your time? We don't want to say we started a YouTube channel. We don't want to say we were complaining. We don't want to say we were voting. We want to say we built institutions so that the next generation can start in a better footing. And that institution is the Paseta School. So the Paseta School will build the first branch of the school will be built here in South Africa in the Northern Cape. So we are busy already with the construction side. We are busy building the wall, the sign wall, to show everybody around the area there that the new school will be erecting very soon that side. So those who are donating, we appreciate you. We are also going to launch Paseta in our fundraising event on the 2nd and 3rd of April here in Northern Cape. So everybody will be making their way into Kimberley to see the big hole, to get nice tourism attractions that we have here, to see everything that we have here. Ozan Bafetu, we will be happy to host you in Kimberley and in Paseta specifically. So everybody who's donating, we appreciate the contributions that you have. If you haven't already donated to the Pan-African School, you are working and you do have an extra 50 rand, extra 20 rand, extra 2,000 rand, an extra 100,000 rand somewhere, please make sure that you get in contact with us. Our banking details are on the screen. Make sure you click the Capitec business account and click the right branch code right there. Enter the correct branch code and make your contribution, your deposit to the Pan-African School. And before you do that, I would like to thank you in advance for the good donations that you are sending to Paseta. Until we meet again, don't forget to pray. But after you pray, stand up, African child. Do your best so that God can do the rest. Peace in Pan-Africanism. I salute you.